to the Mark Rickman Show and the Pioneer Mind podcast, and where we explore the different ideas in our culture today, from AI to technology, oil field. And this is our regular show we do on Thursdays with Kathy, and we've come up with a name simply because we believe this is kind of the goal of this particular show each Thursday, is Well Within. We talk quite a bit about this wholeness aspect, at least in our household, about finding wellness through, our mind, spirit, and body. We've heard those kind of slogans all our lives in terms of we're three parts, right? But there is this part in us that if we're not well within and doing well with, say, our spirit or in our body, it'll affect our mind, right? So we have to kind of look at all three things and find a wholeness, and that well within piece is really where we want to focus as we go forward on the show. So today's a pretty important topic. We're going to I'm sure Kathy will have a few jokes here now, but it is a very serious topic, and it's one that we don't want to make light of, but at the same time, it's a very serious issue. So today we're going to be talking about ED for men, erectile dysfunction, and PCOS for the gals, and how they're kind of related and they have the same root problem. And we're always looking at the end symptom we see, trying to treat that when there's all kinds of source things in the background that have led up to this. So anyway, thanks for joining us. We're going to have a great discussion. We hope you like the show. Please subscribe and like. It really helps. We are growing, so I appreciate that. And on all kinds of platforms, when you add them all up, we're actually getting quite a few views and some subscribers. So please subscribe and like. It really helps us, and it's free to you. It doesn't cost you anything. So just hit that subscribe button, and you'll get notifications on when the next show comes up. So anyway, so welcome, Kathy. Thanks for coming today. It's a kind of a big subject.
It is a very hard subject. Well, it should be a hard subject that we're talking about today. It's a very important because it's reproduction of the humankind. And so it's a big deal. So are we gonna talk about the big problem?
Yep.
We always talk about the spinny wheel. This to me is very fascinating. We are broken into body parts, looking at the symptoms of obesity, diabetes, cancer, PCOS, fatty liver, heart disease, high blood pressure, Alzheimer's, migraines, erectile dysfunction, neuropathy, and so many more. Skin issues, all of those things. And you can see on the side there that 93% of the population is dealing with these things. And I would have never believed it until I started, first of all, just looking. It's quite obvious how many people are dealing with belly fat, skin tags, inflammation. But also as you start talking to people, it's not always so obvious, but they're all dealing with, like I said, the inflammation, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, some of those things, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and just the constant craving. So you can see where we have become so sick as a nation that we're actually only operating at 7%.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, what could happen if we could flip that? So I'm really excited to be a part of the solution. So as we talk about the solution, and I'm not saying I'm the only solution, and I'm not saying I'm the solution for everything, but if we start targeting, instead of targeting all of the separate issues and managing those symptoms, let's go to the root. And as you can see on that first page, the root is insulin resistance. So that's what we're always going to be talking about, is dealing with that. The solution that I've found is through this company called Unicity. It's some simple herbal teas that are going to lower your cravings, so you can it quiets the food noise so you can make better choices. It's replacing, it boosts your natural GLP-1 by 60 to 70%. And with all the GLP-1s that are being marketed so heavily, and all the different side effects, it's quite terrifying. So this product excites me because I can genuinely share it knowing I'm not harming anyone. The only side effects they're going to get are, I feel great. Your health savings account qualifies for it because it's an actual nutraceutical. You can find it in the physician's desk reference. The Cleveland Clinic has done studies on it. We're in over 60 different countries. It says 50, but 60 now. The product is patented, so nobody else can mock it up, which we're finding they're already doing, and so it's not the genuine. So you got to be careful, and you want to make sure you go through a reputable distributor to get it, and you're going to get the best rate through that way too.
It's super hard to know. Like, there's radio ads that warn us all the time about pharmaceuticals from out of the country, right? You've probably heard those before. and you really don't know what you're getting if you don't go to the source, right?
Right.
And so the company, makes it so you go right to them to get the right thing and the right product, because I'm sure the counterfeits out there is because they're seeing an opportunity to kind of trick people,
Right.
And what are they putting in it? Sawdust or something? Who knows what they're putting into
Yeah,
it.
I don't know.
But it's super important that what you're bringing up there, because a lot of people are very much tricked by that stuff.
We have actually found that to be true in certain vitamins we bought. You had a certain oil that you knew was very dark and strong, and we split it open. It was probably like olive oil or something. It wasn't
probably vegetable oil, and it's supposed to be a black seed oil from black seed.
Right. So we know that you want to get the source. This company is amazing in that they want it to come from the source because they want it to come with education. They just don't want people nilly-willy buying things off the shelf that they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how it's being applied to their body. And so I love being a part of this, and this is the solution. And you can see it's also going to help add the intermittent fasting. So when I'm not eating, I'm drinking the tea. When I am eating, I take a balance because that helps bring that blood sugar low. And in the graph beside, you can see we're always in two states. We're either in fat storing and damage mode, or we're in fat burning and healing and relief mode. So when we can get our body and those blood sugars down, your body is amazing in that it wants to heal. It wants to put us in that place of homeostasis. But if our blood sugars are high and that insulin is high and those cells are not responding, we are in fat storage mode and damage mode. And that's what we're going to talk about here with our the symptoms, the PCOS and erectile dysfunction.
It's kind of a sensitive subject in some ways, but as you get older, you get a lot more insensitive. Young people probably, get uncomfortable with talking about these subjects, but as you get older, you just realize that the human body has all kinds of things going on, and our sexual life in ED for men is a big deal, and it's a big enough deal that we'll spend billions of dollars on external blue pills to maybe aid in the fact that you are insulin resistant and metabolically messed up. So you'd rather not deal with the diet. You'll just take something on the outside. Mm-hmm. These are huge subjects. So what's the biggest misconception about, when you look at erectile dysfunction, ED and PCOS, obviously attacking, there's two different cars there, male, female, but it's the same root thing of metabolic health, affecting each car a little differently. But what's maybe the biggest misconception about the two that people don't get necessarily?
Well, I think the label has become infertility. And so when you go to an infertilitist, we want to find out who's broken. Is it the sperm that can't swim fast enough, or is it the egg that's cracked? So it kind of puts a blame and a shame on one of the partners. And so I think that's a really dangerous myth of infertility. And it's frustrating to see, especially when we're talking about the reproduction of humankind. And, God's put that in us to reproduce and want to reproduce. And I just think of the couples that have lost, multiple babies and miscarriages or never able to have children, and the absolute heartache of all of that. And then to come back and recognize it's not the infertility and those sorts of things possibly at all. It could be just insulin resistant. That
a diet onset insulin resistance, which affects your ability to handle energy. I'm thinking of one guy right now that his comment, and he probably weighed close to 300 pounds, and we didn't know at the time. I'm just thinking, I won't say his name, but I'm thinking of a specific person that used to say, we can't have children, I'm shooting blanks. Well, he was 295, young man, really. He wasn't old. And I'm just thinking, most likely, if he had this information, could have maybe solved the problem and had a family.
Yeah.
So think of what it's robbing from families is that want a family.
Like I said, it kind of points to one of you is broken. So there's that guilt and that shame or that resentment, and I think it causes a lot of marital issues. When intimacy is an important part of a marriage, and you're not having any intimacy. I've actually thought how I think a lot of young couples, when you see that they're obviously dealing with the insulin resistant, food has become their sex. That's what makes them feel good. The dopamine rush is probably coming through eating out and eating food. And so anyway, those are all a bunch of different things to think about. But when insulin resistance is when the cells stop responding actively to insulin. Insulin's job is to get the energy into the cells. So when the cells go, hey, we're full, we can't take any more, the pancreas is like, okay, well, let's just make some more insulin, see if that helps. And the more insulin's knocking on the cell doors saying, let me in, let me in. And the cells are going, not happening, we're full. And that creates hyperinsulinemia. And that it is going to affect the blood vessels function and the hormone production of both sexes. So it's kind of fascinating. It's the same root, but it's affecting both of them differently. Elevated blood sugar and chronic low-grade inflammation impairs blood flow. All right. So it also impairs the hormone signaling and the tissue health of all of the entire body. So our arteries, think of them as when we have too much insulin, they get inflamed because insulin is a growth hormone. So it's growing and inflaming the blood vessels of our body.
So you've said that ED and what you're reading and what you're studying, and you've mentioned it, is the ED is like the first sign of kind of a cardiovascular disease is on its rise, you know, that your heart and everything is,
right.
There's something going on there. So it shows up in ED first, but really there's other things going on.
Well, I think, again, it's kind of like skin tags. We go, skin tags, oh, go get them cut off. No, it's your body is telling you something. And erectile dysfunction is also telling you something. It's telling you that those blood vessels are not working properly. And the blood vessels in the penis are 1 to 2 millimeters. And the blood vessels in your coronary are 3 to 4. So it's always going to affect the smaller vessels, the blood vessels first. So if you're having erectile dysfunction and you know those blood vessels are not, they're swollen and they're not operating correctly, that says you know that in about 3 to 5 years before you're going to have a coronary issue. So again, if we could track these symptoms earlier, connecting them down the road instead of going, oh, you've got coronary issues, let's back it up. I think it's powerful when we can start seeing the symptoms for what they are, not just little nuances, and not let's just, be the whack-a-mole and get rid of the signal that your body's trying to tell you, but understand what it's telling us.
Right. And it really speaks to what you're talking about there to me, is it also speaks to the interconnectedness of all this stuff, even the symptoms,
Yep.
A lot of times I always feel like we focus on the last thing we see is the thing we're going to solve, when really it's a series of things over 10 years that are hidden in some ways. And so we're always trying to fix that last symptom we see, that, my foot doesn't feel neuropathy. Well, most likely it's something going on.
Yeah.
So there's an interconnectedness not only between insulin resistance and all the things on the problem wheel, the symptom, but also within the problem wheel, the symptoms themselves lead to other things.
Just like you mentioned, neuropathy. So if I have high insulin, nitric oxide is what's going to offer healthy blood flow. Okay. So, but if we're at insulin resistance, we're not getting the nitric oxide, which is going to dilate those vessels. So yeah, I might not be getting energy to the brain, Alzheimer's, brain fog. I might not be getting energy to the feet, neuropathy. You're not getting energy to your pole. So, those are all signs that if we would just know how to read the signs, we could be a lot further ahead.
How does metabolic health or syndrome, or whatever you want to call it, affect the male hormone levels? You know what I mean? I mean, is it because we know about cortisol, we know about these other things, but our male hormone health is also affected, not just the blood vessels, not just the blood flow, right? That you're talking about with ED, but even our hormone levels are being somehow restricted or influenced by insulin resistance, right? Right.
So when you have an insulinemia, when you have a lot of insulin in the blood, it disrupts the hormone communication. So there's communication centers that can't communicate, and that's why I think we're seeing a lot of women dealing with perimenopause and menopausal issues that just seem very big. I don't remember my mom or people talking about it as much as we talk about it now. And when you have the number one hormone of insulin, when it's off, the whole orchestra's a mess. And so what we're seeing is if we get that one hormone, the insulin, taken care of and leveled out, all the other hormones kind of line back out. And that's true for the testosterone and the estrogen. So when my insulin is off, it's silencing the message. And so we're not getting the hormone signaling. So say in testosterone.
Right. So it's a double whammy. There is my point. Is like, so if your diet onset situation is affecting you with ED, and you're focused on the blue pill as the answer to affect your blood vessels, and you're not, but you still have a hormone problem, because your body isn't working right, your thyroid might not be working right, whatever, in terms of your diet is affecting all those things. So there's more than one just factor here.
Right. Well, the other thing is you could go into the doctor, and I think we had this experience when you were in your 40s.
We did, yep.
So the doctor said, hey, you have high blood pressure. So,
no, it was high cholesterol.
High cholesterol.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have high cholesterol because our diets sucked, quite frankly. We didn't know that. You knew you were overweight, but, everybody's overweight. So you just think, okay, I caught this thing.
Right.
And the physician says, hey, let's put you on a statin. And you're like, oh, okay, let's go on a statin. And I mean, right away, it was quite obvious. We called it Lipitor instead of Lipitor. And it's like, okay, take your pick. Do you want to die of a heart attack or lack of no sex? So I think early on, there was sort of this piece of like, wait a minute, this isn't helping. And so I guess my point is a lot of the pills that we're being prescribed are actually causing more damage than if we could understand the symptom itself.
What was interesting about that experience is that we said something to the doctor. You made the joke because you're always good at bringing levity to serious subjects. Is you said Lipitor. She chuckled. Remember, she chuckled out loud.
Yeah.
And so she goes to her desk reference. Remember?
Yep.
And looked it up. And she goes, it is a side effect. She goes, I never knew that. So Lipitor is whatever.
Lipitor is Lipitor.
Yeah, right. Is a total side effect of that statin drug. Yeah, 100%.
When I was in Punta Cana, and this is a sidetrack, listening to a number of doctors talk about the irony of the medication that they're giving people to heal the problem and how it's actually, when you read the side effects, it's actually worse than what the problem was. For example, if you have osteoporosis, they're going to give you Fosamax. Well, if you look at the side effects of Fosamax, it's hip fractures. So if you're already susceptible to low bone density, and now we're going to give you a pill that's going to cause more, it just is the irony of it and the insanity of it gets clearer and clearer when you start asking questions.
Right.
So
let's move on to PCOS.
Yeah.
And I have a question here. Most people think PCOS is strictly a reproductive issue, but what's actually happening metabolically?
I'd like to say most people have no clue to what PCOS is.
I never heard of it.
Myself included. And when I have this chart, most people will ask, what's PCOS? So let me tell you a little bit about what PCOS is. It's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay, so there's things going on in the ovaries. And what we're finding out is it's not just an ovarian condition, okay? And they're actually changing the name to make it more of a metabolic thing because they know it's not just the ovarian thing. Up to 70% to 80% of women with PCOS have insulin resistance, regardless of their body weight. So insulin stimulates androgens. Androgens are those sex hormones, and they act directly on the ovaries. So it's triggering them to overproduce the male sex hormone like testosterone, okay? So when you're overproducing testosterone, your body is telling you, hey, this is not a good environment to have babies. So it actually almost is a self-sabotage, a self-protective mode that's going on. But it can lead to symptoms such as irregular periods, facial hair, and hair thinning, all because of the insulin resistance.
Well, or the onset of male hormones, androgens.
Yes. So the elevated androgens promote visceral fat storage around all the organs, and which worsens the insulin resistance, and it increases the risk of type 2 diabetes. That's why a lot of times you'll hear when you're pregnant, your doctor will talk to you about gestational diabetes. I mean, he'll use the word, but you have no idea what he's talking about. I don't think I was ever told to watch out for my sugar consumption during pregnancy. I just knew I didn't want to catch it, and you were hoping you were lucky enough not to. But the whole time I'm drinking Dr. Pepper, eating, red licorice, and not even thinking twice about all the sugar I was consuming. At the time, in the 90s, I was just afraid of eating any fat. So those items didn't have fat in them. So, we have to really start thinking about what's the narrative, what's out there, does it even make sense? I often think of myself, I'm not what I would call the brightest crayon in the box, but I do have some common sense. And when something makes sense, it just makes sense. It's like it resonates with you. And like I said, if something doesn't make sense, you can almost bet that it's making dollars for Big Pharma.
Wow, that's and I'm sure we could dive into that just little statement quite a bit. But
yeah,
we don't want to get on a sidetrack, but it's interesting. And so these other symptoms that show up, the thinning hair and acne and all those kind of things, those should be triggers, shouldn't they be? Like, especially if people listening.
They're warning lights.
Yeah, if you're listening to this show and you're wondering about PCOS and you're wanting to have children and it's been a struggle, and you can also take a look in the mirror and see, well, I got pretty tough acne and my hair is kind of you can self-evaluate. I hate to say it that way. But
your body's talking to you.
It's that common sense.
It is that self-evaluating. What's it telling me? Like if I got a rash all over somewhere, something's trying to get out of my body. It's a symptom of something. It's a detox.
It's the common sense piece you just mentioned, really, right? It's common sense that if you have these other things showing up, there's something else going on. So I better do some homework. I better start learning.
Yeah. And
in this show, we always talk about this idea of being your own advocate. You need to get in there and start reading and learning on your own, because everyone will tell you, oh, you're crazy, just take this pill. No, you're crazy, go see the doctor or whatever. But I've never seen more improvement in my own life is what, other than when I started doing my own reading and studying and realizing I'm doing an experiment right now, which Kathy knows I'm doing right now. And I've really enjoyed this process.
Yeah, we'll talk about that maybe next week.
We will, and see what the results are. But it's gone very well. It's been very fun. I'm getting up poorly to say I'm anyway, it's just been a good thing for me to do this evaluation, and I think I encourage everyone to do that. You know? And like on these subjects, EDs, PCOS, if you have thinning hair, acne, you start common sense. Well, I got something going on here. That's not normal at 36 years old.
Well, here's what I've been thinking. I'm hearing more labels than I've ever heard before. And what happens is I was just reading about an emergency room doctor, and he's talking about the clients that are in the emergency room. They all have different names of issues they have. However, the root cause is the same. So we keep adding these labels of like, oh, you have PCOS. Oh, you have erectile dysfunction. Oh, you have this and you have that. But if we could just come back to, hey, your diet sucks, let's change it. Your lifestyle is a mess. You're never going to be able to fix something that was caused by lifestyle. It's never going to be fixed with a pill. Right. So getting back to our lifestyle is going to be ever important. And I do wish that I had pulled up some testimonials. Every week we have a science call, and there was a really great science call a couple weeks ago about infertility, and people that had spent literally, the gal spent over $500,000 on infertility things. She had multiple miscarriages, and starting the Feel Great system, it just sounds so simple, and she was skeptical. But yet it's giving her body what she needed, getting those blood sugars down, and everything reversed. And they're now actively having more children. And so I think that's pretty powerful. If you'd like that testimony, I'd be happy to reach out, and I'd be happy to send it to anybody. But pretty cool and very hopeful.
Right. Well, it's interesting, though. I have a little note here. The hormonal patterns differ. Low testosterone in men and high testosterone in women. Why does insulin drive both? It's so interesting how one factor in our diet is affecting each car differently in really destructive ways.
Right.
Well,
I think, again, when you're talking about life and death, your body is pretty sensitive to it. So if you're doing things that are causing death to your body, it's going to keep you from reproducing on both, whether male or female. which takes me back to John 10:10 that says the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And the other half of that scripture is, but I came to give life. So I always kind of try to look at the two things through those lenses. Is this life or is this death? Because there's two forces at work at all time, the good and the evil. And we're seeing that manifest before our eyes every day. And
when I would talk quite a bit more, I used to teach the destroy word as all three of those words is meant to destroy the generations. I always felt like they were talking about destroying the generations. And these two factors that we're talking about here, like the one young man I'm thinking of that was really heavy, and he makes the joke. We make jokes about these things, don't we? We don't to handle the pain
awkwardness of it, or the pain of it.
Yeah,
yes,
I think he was sad. I can't have a family. I'm just shooting blanks. It's my fault.
Right.
The shame factor.
Yep.
But my point is I think, in terms of using that scripture, I believe the word destroy really is destroying the generations. And that's what these things are about. So if we can solve these things with a simple diet change and different thought patterns change, that's powerful,
Well, and that's why I think this topic and health and wellness, it rashes us a little bit, because the more I get into it, the more severe it is. It is about humankind and how we're reproducing. And at the pace that we're going with the modern diet, we're seeing children literally be born with type 2 diabetes. We are perpetuating some really horrible things with our families.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So I have another question here for you. What are the most effective ways people can improve insulin sensitivity starting today?
Today?
Right now.
Right now, I would start with cut out the carbs. Start reading your labels and know where your sugars are coming from. Most people think that if I'm eating bread, I'm not eating sugar. Bread converts to sugar. And there's a real big confusion on what are carbs and what is sugar. And just because you're not eating white powder doesn't mean you're not consuming a lot of sugar. So your breads, your pastas, excess fruit, all of those things are huge. And so understanding where that comes from. And then number one, every time you eat, lead with protein, follow with fiber and healthy fats. And if you're going to have a carb, have that at the end of it, because that's going to keep your blood sugar stable. Yeah. The other thing that I would do is add intermittent fasting. We do not need to be eating all the time. When they used to tell us, eat 6 small meals a day to keep the metabolism going. I used to say that to people. And it's not your metabolism that we're keeping going. It's your blood sugar that's keeping going, because your blood sugar goes up, then it crashes and it drops, and we have cravings. So now you eat again, and we're doing this all day long. So when you can stop eating in between meals and let your pancreas rest, let the insulin rest, your body can be in that healing mode. The other thing I would do, number 3, would be start moving. Just use your muscles. Your muscles are the number one use of all the glucose that we consume. 80% of the glucose is used by our muscles. So whether it's standing instead of sitting, walking the stairs, moving is very important. And number 4, consistency. Yep. Just be consistent. And honestly, if you want to add a really great number 4, I'm loving the protocol that I'm using, because it helps bring those blood sugar levels down. It helps the cravings and the controls. Could you do it on your own? Absolutely. You could build a house all by yourself, but it's much easier with a great set of tools.
Right.
So,
well, you had mentioned labels, and you have a partner that you're building a business here, so we have to be open about that. But at the same time, your goal is to be well within, to help people, right? But you have a partner that's taking people to the stores and teaching them how to read labels. And I thought that was an amazing idea, because we just recently did that ourselves in the home. We started tearing out some stuff because we read something or watched something. I don't even remember how we got onto it, the few words that were key words for ingredients. So we started looking at some things that we were using in the house, and we found, I think, 2 products that we were using that were loaded with them, that were really not good. And I don't really want to over talk about, ingredients and make that the biggest thing in the world. But for me, reading labels has become almost a habit. Like, I don't buy anything off the shelf hardly anymore without What's the first ingredient? What's the
Yep.
second? What's the third? I didn't have that most of my life.
No, the irony was we've been taught calories.
Yes.
Calories in, calories out. So, oh, that's only 100 calories. No big deal. Well, what you don't know is that it's full of carbohydrates and it's spiking your blood sugar. So when you can learn your macro code, that was huge. And then to start reading the ingredients and know what those ingredients are is huge. And it can feel very overwhelming. So I guess I would just tell anybody that's out there, start somewhere. Start with a little bit of consistency. That's where this tool is going to help you. It does the self-control piece for you that puts you in your right mind that now I can read a label and go, you know what? I could swap that out for something else. I don't need to have that. Hey, I was having fruit 5-6 times a day because the food pyramid told me to. I was having grains 10 to 11 times a day because that's what the food pyramid said. You got to think for yourself and recognize, no, our body does not, if you never had another carbohydrate in your life, you'd live a very, very long time. But they have us thinking that it's energy, we have to have the glucose. No, your body will make everything that you need. And the more you understand the body, the more you realize really so many different scriptures of our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so with just a few tweaks, when I find people even just sloppily use this product, they're getting amazing results, which is powerful. And those results are what motivates them to keep going.
Yeah, we don't have a testimony today, which normally we're trying to have testimonies each week, people. And we didn't gather one in. It just out of just.
I forgot.
Yeah, we just forgot. But can you think of just think of 2, maybe 3 testimonies without mentioning names of results that you've seen by people changing, reading the label, intermittent fasting, the very things you just mentioned. Here's where you'd start, right? The top 3 or 4. Can you think of some testimonies, the dramatic things that we've seen a lot? So can you?
Well, I actually had a friend of mine that said, you know me, Kathy, I don't want to give up anything. And I'm like, okay, don't. Just be consistent with this. So I think she was kind of going out to prove me wrong, And after about 6 weeks, she called and she goes, all right, I'd have to say miraculously, I've lost 12 pounds. And she said, I actually had a bag of potato chips that I folded up and put away. She goes, I've never done that. She goes, it's like this product just makes me want to do the right thing. And when you start getting results, you want to do more of the right thing. And so for her, it's been a transformation in that sense. I've had other people, they're losing 30, 40 pounds, but they, really got into get the app, get some other information, get a really strict, some people need that really strict structure. They want to be working out every day, which is great. And it's worked for them. So it's a very flexible program. Other people, they're not working out at all, but they've got the mentality, oh, I got to start working out. Oh, I got to start working out. Well, not really. If you start in the kitchen and you start with that insulin, you'll want to work out because now I want to go do things. I have people, saying, oh, I finally got my energy back. I want to go do things. I'm not falling asleep all afternoon. No, yeah. I hear those things all the time. It excites me and makes me happy to make my friends happy. And the other piece of this protocol is if you try it for 90 days and you're like, didn't work for me, get your money back. I don't care. I just want you to, find something. If you have something that's working for you, great, use it. But if you're looking for a tool, by all means, reach out. Happy to share it with you.
What is one thing you wish every man and woman understood about the metabolic health thing? What is one thing that you wish they understood?
I think if they understood, it was the center of everything.
It really is.
I think about how much time, energy, pain that people spend in the doctor's office doing what the doctors recommend. Some of the protocols are brutal, downright criminal, what people were willing to do if they just understood the power that they have with their own insulin resistance. I mean, that's huge.
It is. And to me, what I would say, my answer to that question would be that there is ways that are, I wouldn't say they're simple, but there's a simplicity to the correction of all of these things.
Yeah.
That, again, we focus on the end symptom, and I'm therefore going to go to the doctor, and they're going to give me a pill for it, right? My pill might even help. It probably usually does, right? But the thing of it is, there's a way simpler way to do it, and it's really in your refrigerator and on your stove, you know.
Which to me says that that's a God thing, because I think of the scripture that says, "My yoke is easy, my way is light." We as humans are the ones that want to complicate things. And I have been a part of, the weight loss industry that we had it, the structure was so strong and you had to do it just like this and just like that to get the results. And if you didn't, well, it was your fault. And I really love this is more of a grace-based program. And you're learning as you go, because at the end of the process, you want a lifestyle that you can continue with. We don't want a flash in the pan. Oh, got the weight off. Oh, here it comes again. And I think we're addicted to the next thing. Like, oh, I'm going to try that for a week. Oh, I'm going to try that for a week. Because every time we try something, we're turning the button off of, well, at least I tried. Even if you never get results, you've clicked the button off in your head that at least I tried. And I guess I would say, I want to see you try for 90 days and see if that doesn't reset some things.
Well, as we close here, what's a message you want every listener to take seriously about the ED and the PCOS? What's the message there that you want to leave them with on these two subjects?
I think the message is understanding insulin resistance, and we have a lot more power than we think we do. Don't let medical diagnosis make you feel like you're broken and can't be fixed. That would be mine, is that there's always hope, and we have a lot more power than we think we do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Break away from the systems and the labels.
Oh, 100%. And we tend to look for answers outside of ourselves, right? We go to a guru, we go to, whatever. We want to go to something outside of us to solve problems, when really it's bound up in ourselves. The book, The Mountain, as you have mentioned it many times, is self-sabotage as a coping mechanism. We don't even we want to lose weight. We want to get healthy, but somewhere along that path, we sabotage it because that's actually what we want. We want to maintain something. Who knows? We don't even know what the motivation is, but it's really powerful to realize that we can jump in there and be a big part of the solution for ourselves. We don't, you know what I mean? And to me, that's an important message to get.
And it's not that we can't go to professionals and different things too, but you got to look at the proof. Where's the proof? What's the proof in the pudding? If you don't have something else to try, why wouldn't you try? Because the testimonials are phenomenal, amazing, and healing should be normal. And we've normalized sickness, and I'm sick of it.
Right. Well, as we close the show today, we just love these subjects, and trying to push towards this idea of well within. In the description and show notes, all that kind of stuff will be links to Kathy, how to contact her, a QR code for the best price if you want to start the product and try it. I would actually encourage you to reach out to Kathy and have an initial discussion, because any questions you may have, she'll have an answer. And if she doesn't have it, she'll go get it for you. So again, thanks for joining us. We just love doing these, and we'll see you the next time go around. Subscribe and like. It helps the show.